Yes, everyone, welcome to Full Time Devils. Just me and Abdullah today, and we are going to be previewing Manchester United's trip to Paris to play PSG in the second leg of the round of 16 game. Are you looking forward to it? No, you're not. You're not, and no one is, because have you seen the team we've took?
Yeah, I'm thinking of taking my boots with me tomorrow. That's what I'm thinking of. I think I might have to nip into Sports Direct or something, sort it out.
Brandon Williams has been joined in the squad, or has been called up to the squad. The full squad that's going is going to be David De Gea, Romero, Grant as the keepers, no shocks there. Bailly, Delo, Lindelof, Rojo, Shaw, Smalling, Brandon Williams, Ashley Young, Fred, Garner, Gomez, McTominay, Pereira, Chong, Greenwood, Lukaku, Rashford, 8 academy players, and the midfield is basically academy players plus Fred. If he doesn't start tomorrow, he must be garbage in training, is all I can say. But it's an interesting squad that we've taken. Much out of necessity, but it's still good to see, isn't it?
It's good to see. There's a lot of potential in that in that side that's going. It's just, it looks like an under-23 side that's going over there. It doesn't look like a, it's like an under-23 side, you know, when you take a couple of the lads that are recovering. So like you got Lukaku, he might have been injured, you want to dip him in there. Ashley Young is one of them old crap players that, you know, don't play much anymore, so you want to throw him in there.
Plays too much.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting that we're taking Williams ahead of Damian. We're taking him ahead of Leo Connor, and we're also taking him ahead of Ethan Laird. So he's jumped the queue a little bit for me there, because I'd probably put him behind all of those, but definitely deserved. He's a phenomenal, aggressive player. He is. Do you want to talk about Ander Herrera being a house? Brandon Williams epitomises that.
I think the two games I watched, one of them he got sent off, and the other one you just should have got sent off. He's absolutely.
I stand by that. I asked him afterwards and said, "Did you crack someone in the Manchester derby, under-18 derby this season?" He chased someone. It looked like he tried to punch him in the back of the head. He says he didn't. Saw it with my own eyes. So that's the kind of player that we're getting. So if we're going for some sort of defensive masterclass, I don't think he's going to play. But what an absolute rabbit to pull out the hat that's going to be. But anyway, we are here to talk about the actual game, and as good as it is for Brandon, I think he's going for the experience, and I don't think he'll be involved. The first leg, I thought up till half time, only one team was winning that, and they play over here, not over there. What do you think?
I can't fully agree with that. I thought both teams were winning at half time. I think we had like a 10-minute spell where we were on the counter breaking, and we had that moment with Jesse and where Martial got the ball and he just loses it there. He didn't have a great half at all. Marcus was making a lot of runs, but Kimpembe was doing his work on him.
Oh, it was physical with him, wasn't it?
But it was very physical with him, and I think a lot of them should have been fouls and stuff, which obviously affected us, and thank God obviously Marcus didn't lose his head, because the way Kimpembe was going at him all game. The problem is I didn't feel like we were, other than those couple counters there was nothing too much for me. I think it was 50-50 by half time. Going into the second half, once Matters on the right, Alexis on the left, game over. I said 2-0. In my head I'm like, that's 2-3, maybe even 3.
I thought the difference between the two halves was in the first half they did a brilliant man-marking job, Marquinhos on Pogba, because they had the 3 outlets. So you've got 3 outlets, how do you cover 3 bases at the same time? You can't. You cover Pogba, and you then cut the supply to Jesse, to Marshall, and to Marcus, and they did that brilliantly. They did a fantastic job taking Pogba out of the game. If you look at Pogba's involvement first half to second half, in the second half they let him get on the ball. They allowed him to get on the ball, and they just stopped Marcus, because he's the only outlet you can get. Because Matt's not getting in the back, Sanchez isn't getting behind, and they just, because they didn't respect the pace anymore then, and they carried on being physical with Marcus, they pushed their line right up, and then they started to play
the European
football.
Experience showed in that back line. You've got Thiago Silva, who's played in Milan, played in Paris, played in big games, and then you've got Bernat, who's at Bayern Munich, Kimpembe, World Cup winner, you know, Marquinhos, brilliant, all over the pitch.
Well, they were missing Neymar, they're missing Cavani.
And still look at the options that are in.
The two best players, the two most key players, Mbappe aside, were Draxler and Di Maria getting into the half space. They split our centre halves, who were both pushing back anyway because of the pace that you've got with Mbappe.
The thing is, I said this, and it sounds a little mad, and I said I'd almost rather play against Neymar than Di Maria if I'm United. Just because of the fact I think he's going to bring the ball into midfield and try find someone, and he's arguably the best player in the world at times, but once you stick someone that's direct with pace on Ashley Young, game over. Simple as that. And I think that's all they had to do with Ashley Young. And I said Di Maria will start on the left. And I was worried he was the key man for them, and that's exactly what happened. I wasn't surprised about the way the game had gone. Whereas like Neymar, if he brings it into midfield, Mike Herrera can do a job into it because he loves to look and create. And once it's slowed down a little bit, I think United can get in a better shape and recover the ball like they did against Chelsea with Hazard. But it was just so frustrating. I think we're going to have to worry about Di Maria again. Hopefully it's Delo and Young that double up on him or something like that.
I think what you're going to see for a starting 11 is very, very, very similar, if not identical, to what team finished against Southampton at the weekend. I really think that's probably how we're going to go down. As much as we're taking a load of youngsters, I think we're getting a bit carried away thinking that any of them are going to start. I think the bench will just be youngsters. But aside from that, I think that you're going to see pretty much the team that finished on against Southampton. So we don't have Paul Pogba. He's going to be one change mainly. How do we win this game without Paul Pogba? Because for me, looking at the mistakes that we made in the first leg and thinking we have to go out there on the front foot, which I do think we'll do under Solskjaer. I think that's one thing he definitely knows how to do. We got to score first and make this interesting. And I think we are going thinking we can win this. I don't think this is a United team going, let's not get embarrassed. I think this United team goes, here's how we're going to win this. They're going to have a plan in their heads how they can win it. Whether they execute that is another matter, and I don't think we will execute it. But I think we're going out there to score the first goal. Without Paul Pogba, where does the creativity come from for us? Where does that quick transition from defence? And are they going to counter-attack? Because that's what I can't work out. Are they going to try and attack us and kill the tie-off? Or are they going to...
This weekend, I think they played Di Maria and Mbappe as the front two. And I think it might have been a little test from Tuchel to see if you can get them in behind them. I think that could be a little risk for them, because I'd rather have Di Maria out wide running at someone like Ashley Young, like I said, and do the same job. So if they do that, I think Bailly Lindelof, if Bailly is the one that's playing over Smalling, I think it'll be Smalling. I think they can contain that. But once you go wide on our fullbacks and we're pushing forward, that's a danger. For me, start of the game, you got to go for it. Like you said, I think they're going with the mentality that we're going to go straight from the get-go. I think what we're going to see a lot is a switch from Fred to Delo. I think we've seen that a couple of times against Palace. If we can get Fred in that transition to do what he did in the last 5-10 minutes against Southampton, then that's perfect. Because that assist to Lukaku, well, I don't think they even give it because it was deflected, but that's what I want to see from him, man. Don't overthink. I always talk about Fred. I can see there's quality in his passes. His understanding of the game sometimes receives it in the wrong part of the pitch, but if he transitions the ball quickly and he allows Pereira to carry the ball forward, we could threaten them. And I think keep looking for Delo on the right. The thing is, who they mark out the game, it's going to be either Rom or Marcus. And I think it's going to be Marcus. I think it's going to be Marcus, and I think Rom, with the form that he's in, once you got Delo beating his man a couple of times, man, you've seen what he did against Southampton, a couple of moments against Palace. Once he gets past his man, some of the balls that he's putting in are ridiculous, man. So I think Delo to Lukaku is a definite thing that we want to try and do. They blocked us up with Dani Alves, and I can't remember the other guy that they had on the right side. It's not Bernat, it's the other one. Kea.
So they had those two, essentially two fullbacks on that side, because United are left-hand side heavy, and they stopped Luke Shaw running, they stopped Pogba operating on that left-hand side, and they nullified Martial down that left-hand side. But that freed us up to have a right load of space with Ashley Young on the right-hand side. Unfortunately, Young can't deliver to save his life.
And at the same time, Di Maria pegged him back, and that's why I was literally before that PSG game, I can almost see where it was going. They're going to compact that right side with Marquinhos and Dani Alves. You got experienced players right there. One of them who's won Champions Leagues and won it all. And then you got Kea, who's pretty solid. He's a centre-back that can play as a full-back. And I thought they'd compact that side. And then when we go down the other side, Ashley Young seems to get in really good positions, but you just can't trust him with a cross. Every time he's got too much time to think, he just overdoes it sometimes. And I think that's where Delo can come in. If you can get Delo to make those runs and relieve Ashley Young from that and just tell him, you sit on Di Maria, don't allow him to get in behind you, then we could have a game in our hands where Delo's working that right. Delo's going to have a good game. For Southampton, I said I'd love to see Delo against Paris, because I think Marcus and Delo are going to have to be wide. You have to be wide against Paris, and we weren't wide enough. And they're going to have to go narrow as well. You're going to play Delo as that right winger? Because I was going to get into the formation before we go into our starting 11. All right, because I actually think that what Paris did very effectively was, without the ball, they sort of did a 4-4-2. With the ball, they sort of slipped into this 3-5-2. Alves came as a bit of a wing back, and I thought it was very interesting. I think United have got the ability to do something similar, and I think that we should maybe consider doing something similar. If we went with three centre halves and we used either Young or Delo, I'd prefer Delo, but to be honest, it's going to be Young.
as your wing backs. That means that we can double up with the centre half on either side, and we can also go man for man with what they're likely to send at us going forward, and the full-backs are then the extra man. All United need to worry about is that fast transition. Without Paul Pogba, I worry who that's going to be. I think Andreas Pereira is the closest thing you've got to a Paul Pogba in terms of the passing range that he's got. He's going to have the absolute game of his life to stand up and do what we're missing in terms of Paul Pogba, and he's going to have to try and find Marcus Rashford around the halfway line in transition somehow. That's going to be the key. Joe, I think, could actually do it, and it's a mad weight of expectation to do it. I think Angel Gomez has got the attacking prowess to do it. I just worry that he's not got the mobility and the power and the physicality to do it defensively, which he's going to need to do. We're going to have a serious defensive output. So
the thing is with Angel, if he gets this chance, and I mentioned this a few times, is that it's when the team are comfortable and sat on the ball. I think that's the only time I can really throw Angel in there, and we're not going to have that in Paris.
But he's also got the ability, and he's got the mental gameplay in his head as well, that if you found him, all he had to do was be the link man. So you win possession, you find Angel, and Angel puts that level of ball into the final third for someone to get onto. I think he could do that. Super specific job, but I think he could do it. So the little starting 11 competition that we've got, Mo Butt is currently top of it with 9.2 out of 4 apps. Dale is second with 9. I'm 8.2 from 11, and Abdul, wow.
I don't play, to be honest. I've had one game, so
6.
Yeah, I've had one game. I've not played on.
Give us your start 11 and what formation you're going with.
I have a sneaky feeling we're going to play that back 3, but I'm just going to go with Ashley Young at right back with the low. So I'm going to go with David De Gea in goal. I think Smalling will keep his place. Lindelof, obviously. Luke Shaw, Young as the back 4. Delo on the right. Scott McTominay, Fred. Andreas Pereira in the middle. Marcus on the left. And Lukaku at front forward. So almost like a 4-5-1. And Marcus and Delo as the...
That's interesting. I think I'm going to go with... I really like the idea of playing a 3 at the back. Yeah, and I think this is the time to try risking that.
Bailly on the right side as well to cover.
But I am thinking it's probably going to be very similar to what we saw the other night. So that would be a back 4 of Young. I think Bay gets a start because I'm worried about the pace of Mbappe. So Bay, Lindelof, with Luke Shaw left back. I'm going to go with Scott as my 6. And then I'm going to go with Fred and Andreas as the other 2 midfielders. I'm putting Delo right wing, and that's literally to double up and sort of help Ashley Young out defensively. I'm going to put Marcus on the left, and I'm going to put Rom up front. But I also like the idea of this team in some sort of a 4-4-2 diamond with Andreas at the tip of it creating. Because I think if you can push them back a little bit with Lukaku and with Rashford, I think they're going to do well there. Let's talk about Paris then. No Cavani, it seems. Neymar's still pretending he's injured. There's a lot to worry about with them. Who's the major threats?
Di Maria again, unfortunately. Obviously, Mbappe is the obvious one. Everyone's going to say Mbappe, but he'll run in the channels all day. And if you have Marcus in that side for Paris, and he has someone like Di Maria with him, who's going to get the ball into him, he can be a similar threat. But for me, the obvious ones, obviously, everyone's going to say Mbappe, but Di Maria is the one that really worries me. He'll be direct on you.
I think getting the ball to him is the most important thing, because this is what people forget. Great forwards don't operate on their own. They're operating on the back of other people that are playmaking for them. I echo what you're saying. Mbappe is a massive threat that has to be dealt with, but I think that Draxler and Di Maria, the spaces that they occupy, because the defence drops off panicking about the pace, there's a bit of a gap in between midfield and defence, and I think Draxler and Di Maria sort of got into that space and owned it. And I don't know if McTominay's up to the job of tracking Di Maria. He's not. But we've got no other options, have we?
To be fair, I think Scott in the Palace game, he showed us something where he was getting the ball forward, and at the same time I thought he read the game a lot better than he did against Liverpool. And against Southampton, I think he might have come out with the second most receptions or the most in that game. And if he can just read the game a lot more, it's a different ball game. I know it's a different ball game, but if he can just solely cut the ball out, and then if he gets it, or it fumbles to anyone else, get it straight into Fred and Pereira, and they transition it quickly, get it out of the way of Draxler and Di Maria straight away. Don't get it anywhere near them. If that can be his job, then we might be in for a winner, because I don't think their right side is as good in terms of creating. Marquinhos isn't going to carry the ball forward and storm every 2 minutes and make some.
Are going to sit a little.
Yeah, so we just need to try and nullify that side. If Scott does that and Fred can take care a bit of, Dani Alves on that side, and Pereira can be that transition guy, like you said, because I'd like that to be what happens. I think we might have a chance in terms of like getting a goal through nullifying that side and hitting them on a counter. But it's easy to say. You just got to see what happens, man.
We've sort of already covered this, but I want to go back to it a little bit. Like, off the bench, because the bench is probably going to be made up of pretty much Angel, Chong. I think Mason could find his way onto the bench, and Jimmy Garner. There's some serious potential in there. Can any of them come off the bench and make themselves a hero?
They can. Mason,
I'm certain Mason scores on his debut whenever it comes. I'm certain.
Oh, it's a big ask, but it just depends. It's like I always go to everything that affects us going forward. You have to look at the back as well, because if Ashley Young stays on the pitch, you'd rather have Delo, the one that's going to provide. And if you have Mason coming on, but Ashley Young's the right back, and there's no link up there, then it's easy to nullify that side for United. So it's just about the changes that come in. Is Ollie going to have the balls to take Ashley Young off? I know you need the leadership and experience, but with Southampton, where was the leadership and experience when those 2 goals were pretty much his fault? The ball comes flying over to Ashley Young. He's got about an hour looking at it from Paul Pogba. Gets it out for a throw-in, throws it right into them, into Andreas.
Don't even talk about his top. Give us your score prediction. How's it going down?
I'm going to go 3-2 United. Just going to say, we're going to go out there. The lads are going to be... it's just going to be like Madrid here back in the day, you know, when Ronaldo scored that hat-trick, but was it 1-4-3? Yeah, 1-4-3, but we didn't get through. It might have just be one.
Beckham had been dropped, I think.
Yeah, he come off the bench and scored 2 goals.
I don't think we've ever overturned a deficit after losing at home like this, ever. So,
especially with the team.
Yes, so I don't think we have much of a hope. The only way we're doing this is if we score first and we pile the pressure on, and even that's going to be tough. And like I said, is Ollie going to have the stones to throw in? Because all he's going to have on the bench is youngsters, virtually. Is he going to have the stones to throw on? If Fergie's travelling, Fergie says, sometimes you've got to throw in a youngster, they might surprise you. What do you lot think? Do we think we're going to see anyone in the starting 11? Do you think we're going to see anyone off the bench? Do you think anyone is going to make themselves an absolute hero? We've seen time and time again youngsters making their debut, from Makeda to Wilson to Rossi to Wayne Rooney. There's so many youngsters that we've seen that have scored on their debuts.
You got to look at PSG's side as well. Mbappe, I think his Champions League debut was City, or he might have got a few minutes on before, but that was his first big shout. Plays against City, puts a rocket in the back of the net against them, and then has another mad game in the second leg. Could it be Mason in that sort of style, you know what I mean? So let's just hope we get the win and boost our confidence. I can't see us go through though.
I'm gonna say 1-1. Is what I think. I think 1-0. I just want to see us do ourselves justice, because I don't think we are on the level of this Paris Saint-Germain team.
Definitely.
And I wouldn't even be bothered if we got turned over like we did in Barcelona 94. People always say this destroys the confidence of young players and stuff like that. Well, Ryan Giggs and Nicky Butt was in that team in 1994, and they went on to have pretty decent careers, didn't they? If you're good enough, you're mentally tough enough. So I don't care. Throw the lads in, see what happens. They might surprise us. And what if they do? What if they're mint? Thank you guys for watching. Get your predictions for the score, your starting 11, and who's going to be the hero in Paris this week. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.